Hello, this is Laura DeBlois, and this is my first synthesized finding presentation. My topic is addressing whether or not the long-term use of tampons from menarche is associated with infertility. So I looked over 3 different studies. Study number 1 is titled Tampon Use, Environmental Chemicals, and Oxidative Stress in the Biocycle Study. It's an observational study to assess whether tampon use is related to increased metal concentrations in blood, and then to assess the increased blood biomarker levels for inflammation and oxidative stress. Study number 2 is titled Exposure Assessment to Dioxins from the Use of Tampons and Diapers. It is a qualitative study consisting of analyzing 4 different brands of tampons for their dioxin contaminants, and then how much of these contaminants are absorbed by the human user. Study number 3 is titled Relationship Between Risk Factors for Infertility in Women and Lead, Cadmium, and Arsenic Blood Levels. It's an observational study, a cross-sectional study actually more specifically, to investigate the association between blood concentrations of lead, cadmium, and arsenic, and then the risk factors for infertility. So here's a brief summary of the findings from each study. Study number 1 found increased levels of blood mercury and lead, but not cadmium, in women who used tampons. There is suggestive evidence that women who used tampons had increased levels of mercury and oxidative stress biomarkers during different times of their menstrual cycle, but these increases were not statistically significant due to the study size. Study number 2 found that none of the products contained this type of dioxin, which is the most potent dioxin, although other dioxins were present and detectable in concentrations of all the samples. Although dioxins are found in trace amounts in both the cotton and pulp sanitary products, exposure to these dioxins through tampons and diapers doesn't significantly contribute to dioxin exposure in the U.S. Study number 3 found findings suggested that the concentrations of lead and arsenic, but not cadmium, were significantly higher in the blood of infertile women than that in pregnant women. In addition to the high blood metal levels, this study also observed some lifestyle differences in infertile women, which includes the following. So, in conclusion, what my synthesized findings were include metals have oxidation reduction properties that have been associated with enhancing oxidative damage, which is an important risk factor in the development of chronic inflammatory disease, which is associated with infertility. Tampons may be a source of exposure to chemicals that have been related to oxidative stress and inflammation. Higher blood concentrates containing lead and arsenic are associated with infertility. And lastly, exposure to dioxins from tampons does not significantly contribute to human exposure of these concentration equivalents. Dietary exposure is concluded to be greater. Here are my references of the studies that I looked over, and thank you so much for your time.